Alright, back at it again of complaining about more Destiny stuff. It's gonna be two for today. We're gonna complain about the weapons tuning and then the TWAB, which is just mostly retread at this, but some other stuff. I'm not gonna go line by line here. Just gonna go over some of the important stuff, like for instance, all the boss specs, or basically damage specs getting removed. The justification for this is that they're going to be increasing the damage of a lot of the weapons anyway. So basically, take it as them folding these into the weapons, more or less. Also, another slight change that exotic primers do 40% damage towards red bars, and I can do 30%, except for fighting lion. And here's a more interesting stuff. The takeaway from all of this is that pulse rifles, I think, are going to be the highest damaging primers in the game. That's what I've been told. So that's interesting. Again, 20%, because pulse rifles, like hand cannons, finally feel usable in PvE. Pulse rifles still, even after all this, even after the buffs from like last season and this season, I want to say, they still feel like dog shit. The extra 20% stuff's gonna be nice. Slug shotgun's getting buffed, fusion rifles, basically a lot of stuff's going buffed. The 1000 voices still not getting changed again. I know it just received like a reserve buff, but I think it could use more. Like for instance, being able to cause ignition without running Ember of Ashes, like if you hit all your like shots on someone. That's just me. Sniper's getting buff again, that's cool. I really do think though for snipers they need to address flinch, because another reason why rapid fires are so used outside of their deep ammo reserves was that they also had a like a stability change where they basically have more stability to them. So you know, be nice. Now, so I need to look into this, but someone said, like, I've heard people going around saying that linear fusion rifles have been nerfed again because they have the 5% buff, but I think because of changes with these spec mods, like they're losing damage. I'd have to double check, but some people are saying linear fusion rifles are actually getting nerfed. So I'd have to look into that. Increased damage versus red bars. Okay, yeah, and then these are just more buffs for primaries. Yep, they're just buffing the primaries across the board. They're buffing more stuff. That's cool. Uh, Another slight nerf is that the AoE clear exotics are getting their damage tuned down by 10%. Necrochasm's actually unaffected by this. Also, they're changing it so that kinetics no longer deal bonus damage to bosses. Now, if you don't know, I believe kinetics do either 10 or 15%. I want to say it's 15 now. Percent more damage than their energy counterpart. To compensate with them not working with any like subclass abilities. However, they're going to change it where that they still retain the 15% damage boost on everything except the boss. So they do 50% more damage to red bar, major, but once you fight, I guess, the bosses, maybe even mini bosses, I'm assuming this might affect champions as well. They'll basically, you know, do the same as like a stasis weapon. So, you know, I guess that's whatever. It's fine. Updated this. Okay, it's whatever. Okay. Whatever. They're just buffing hand cannons to keep in line with Igneous Hammer because it's stat monster. Oh, also, another thing I saw in here is that they did not buff the reserves for shotguns. Shotguns have really low reserves. I know they buff snipers reserve, which is nice, but shotguns has really low reserves. They have like my Wastelander can hold 15 shots and 7 of that is in the magazine, so it's kind of dumb. Waveframes, they're also changing waveframes, so they're overall nerfing like the length of the wave itself, but if you spec into blast damage, you get a bigger wave, so that's neat, I guess. Updating swords, that's whatever. So exotic. So this is the interesting stuff here. Divinity got nerfed again, and the nerf here is that it's going to take 75% longer to form the cage, so you won't so I mean that's kind of self-explanatory, right? I'll be honest, not necessarily. I'm surprised they still nerf Divinity because I want to say, uh, yeah, because most people, no, not think about it. You know, people still do use it. It's just the really high-end players that don't use it because it's damage loss technically. I mean, if they really want to nerf Divinity, just remove the debuff and just make it so that it makes things crit, because that's the entire point. That's the real utility of that exotic. The debuff is just a cherry on top, but I mean, we'll have to see how this affects it. I know a lot of div users are going to be crying or something. It is what it is, though. They're changing the fire animation in Rat King to its better. Devil's Ruins, whatever. Symmetry's getting a little buff. Gallahorn Woke Grounds are getting a visual change. That's neat. Touch of Malice is getting a slight buff. Osseostriga is getting a nerf for some reason. Osseostriga made it too easy to spread poison across a whole encounter for a couple kills on weak combatants. I feel like that's kind of the fantasy, especially if you're running this with Necrotic Grips on Strand Warlock. It has a 4-second cooldown on poison burst kills. Okay. So basically you can't just like chain poison kills everywhere, but again, it does say right here that you'll still get poison bursts on things that you hit with sustained fire or whatever. Necrochasm. Now, I'll read it out, but now the intrinsic perk's gonna basically have outlaw built into it. And then they're gonna increase the burn duration. That's fine. And then the catalyst is the one for all they've been mentioning, where it's basically just one for all. So basically, after you damage 3 things, you get 35% more damage and some other shit, apparently. The issue of Necrochasm's ad clear roll is that it is modeled off the original Necrochasm, which requires a headshot kill. In Age of Triumph, like last year Destiny 1, it was changed so that Necrochasm explosion would work off of any kill, would be body shots fine. And I feel like they should buff Necrochasm this way too, because the way it is now, getting a headshot kill with a 720 auto is fine in lower end stuff, but as you get higher and higher, yes, the damage is good on the explosion, but realistically, trying to get a headshot kill is it's not worth the effort, because even if we go up a little bit above, there are a couple of exotics that do its job, but even with this nerf, again, Trinity Ghoul doesn't require precision, Sunshot doesn't require precision, Polaris Lance does, but it's pretty easy. Graviton Lance doesn't require precision, and they can do, at least in the case of Trinity Ghoul Sunshot Lance, that they can like chain explode rooms. It's crazy. Lance is more single target, but when you have those exotics, it really is hard to justify using Necrochasm, especially because it's an exotic in the kinetic slot. Now I know the explosion does do arc damage, but still, it's like, I don't know. This is the real reason why I made this. I'm making this video is because Lament getting nerfed. This shit to me is screaming, what do you call it? Season of Opulence. If you remember way back when, during Forsaken era, Crown of Sorrow was coming out, and they made a couple of changes to some supers. I want to say some other exotics too. Namely, Sleeper Simulant got completely gutted because, if you don't know, Sleeper Simulant, when you shoot, it has like a ricochet and it splits off into like 5, I want to say. And there's a boss called Galron at the very end of Crown of Sorrow, and he's a big dude, and if you shoot the floor in front of him, you can reliably get Sleeper to ricochet and hit his like chest because he's a huge guy. So if Sleeper's going to be untouched, Sleeper would just delete the guy. And because of this, they completely they just murdered Sleeper over this change. And I have a sneaking suspicion with Final Shape or something that's coming out in Final Shape that swords are going to be very good. And because Lament is arguably the best sword in the game, at least the best exotic sword for sure, they're going to preemptively nerf this because they're afraid of it being good. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with this if it wasn't for one issue. Lament does not want to work. If you've ever used Lament at all, you would know this weapon has horrendous tracking. It is notoriously bad. Also, if you don't know, if you do aerial combos with the sword, because you can do aerial combos, you do 33% less damage than a grounded combo. When you combine that fact with the fact that even on grounded enemies, sometimes you can just like fly with Lament and you'll start doing aerial attacks and you just reduce your damage overall. It makes this weapon very inconsistent and it's a very boss dependent weapon. For instance, Grasp of Avarice, the first boss, the Ogre, Lament, you can make it work. I've made it work, but it can be very inconsistent because of the way the Ogre is, like how huge the Ogre is in the hitbox. So sometimes you fly and you miss him, whatever. The final boss is actually really easy to Lament because he's slim and he's tall, so it's really easy to hit him. Again, I would be fine with these changes if Lament actually wanted to work. And the sad part is Lament actually did work. I forgot what season it was, but there's one season, and I want to say they reintroduced Navoda or something, the Navoda Strike and the Grandmasters. It was literally like one season where Lament, I don't know what living code went on, but it actually worked, and you could do grounded combos every time you wanted to, and you could do arrow combos every time you wanted to, and it was awesome. Also, I forgot to mention, Lament on flying enemies is just, no. Good luck. Good luck trying to hit a wizard with that. So yeah, just to recap, my biggest issue with these changes, well, there's another issue, is that Lament just does not want to work. If they fix the tracking along with these changes, I won't be as upset. But as it is now, they're just it just seems like this is just Lament just caught a stray nerf because of something coming in the future, which is really fucking annoying. Reduce the healing by 20%. This weapon does not inherit. While this weapon does inherit, so it is getting a 7% damage buff. They're reducing the high end of chained heavy attacks by 20% from that point. That means higher combos at lower stacks are less affected by the change in combos at higher stack. Okay, so a couple of things with this too. If you don't know, the way most people use Lament and the way most people are taught is that you do 3 revved light attacks, and then the revved heavy attack, right? Because that gets you the maximum stacks of Banshee's Wail, which is 9, and then you use the heavy attack to use all those stacks to do big damage. People who use Lament have found out that the more optimal combo is 2 revved lights and then a heavy. So with this change, I'm sure that combo will be definitely even better now. But again, I don't like this. I don't like this. Also, this thing we're saying healing on hit largely removes the intended downside of using the sword for boss DPS, and the chain heavy attack was too strong. This line, the chain heavy attack was strong if it hits. There needs to be an asterisk if it hits. There's a lot of time where that whiffs because Lament's sword tracking is just crazy. And removes the intended downside of using a sword. That is the entire point of the exotic. The entire point of the exotic is to be into the fray, and the way it helps facilitate that, we're using big words today, is to give you healing on hit. Or on red attacks, whatever the fuck. I think it's also just on hits in general. And I don't know. With Lament 2, and this is what makes me annoyed. There are better damage strategies that require less effort, right? Rocket spam with Well, spamming linear into a div bubble. With Lament, you have to know the combos, and while the combos aren't too complicated, you have to sacrifice a chest piece monster because you need to have at least one stack of Lucent Blade to constantly combo Lament. If you don't, you cannot combo. You eventually run out of sword energy. So, I don't know. Lament's my most used exotic heavy. I like it a lot. It's always on me, and it sucks that it's catching the stray nerf. I hope it's not too bad. They seriously need to fix. If they're gonna do this, there needs to be a patch note or some line where they fucking address the tracking on that sword. Because the way this is going, it's not dead, but it's just gonna be worse. Fun fact: Lament's only been nerfed. I guess outside of the 7% global damage buff the sword. It caught 2 nerfs. One was a 15%, and then another for like 15%. So it's been nerfed like twice. Plus, Lucent Blade doesn't exist anymore. The one that gives you 35% damage bonus. The charging part still is around, so that's cool. But still, like, poor Lament, man. One of the coolest exotics in the game. Oh well. Another cool exotic in the game that's been guttered is Dead Man's Tale, and I will read these out, but I will just let you know that all of this doesn't matter. So. Now, cranial spikes grant stability, additionally to aim assist and range. Increased reload speed of cranial spikes. That's kind of nice. That increased reload speed. Slight reduced accuracy benefits, whatever. Increased magnetism, whatever. Increased baseline rate of fire from 340 to 140. I want to say when you're hip firing at max stacks of cranial spike, you're at a 180 scout rifle. You might be at a rapid fire, but I want to say you're at a 180 scout. Remove PvE only damage buff that scale to stacks cranial spike, and added a 15% bonus at the maximum stacks of cranial spike. So what it means is once you have times 5, you get 15%. But it's not like every cranial spike you're getting 3%. Like a cranial stacks times 1, you're not getting 3%. You only get the 15 at the very end. That wasn't clear. So, well, let me look. If I could like inspect element and changes, I'd be like, change, reverted this back to Season of the Chosen release. That's what they do. If they want if they want Dead Man's Tale to be usable in PvE, just revert it back to Season of the Chosen when it first came out. It was completely fine. It was perfect. I wish I could show you my stats, but more or less, Dead Man's Tale has been my most used exotic primary in Destiny 2. Period. I think Hawkmoon's catching up now, but in terms of like how much I use that gun, I've not touched Dead Man's Tale. I've not used it like at all in like the last like maybe 2 years, year and a half. And it's still my most used exotic primary. That's how much I liked it. That's how much I used it, and they completely destroyed it over Crucible. And what really pisses me off is that Bungie has clearly shown that they can separately balance the sandboxes, and they should have done that with DMT forever ago. Because the issue with DMT, outside of its crazy like aim assist and magnetism and firing from the hip, was that the damage from it allowed it to like I want to say 2-tap back then with like high energy fire and shit like that. And if they wanted to change that, they could have just removed the damage buff in PvE, or I'm sorry, in PvP, and kept it the same in PvE. They've reworked this thing like 13 different times, and now it has like this weird mechanic where your RPM increases with your cranial stack spikes only when you hit fire. And they said when they reworked it like the first time, their cope for this, their explanation for nerfing it, was that it was inconsistent to have a ramping damage bonus. Like it felt too inconsistent and Crucible to have that weird ramping damage bonus. Well, you know what's also weird? It's really weird when I'm using the gun and then when I start to hit fire that my RPM's all over the place. That I'm at ×2, so now I'm 150 ×3 or whatever. Now I'm like 160. It is weird to have a dynamic. Let's use the dynamic fire rate. Honestly, if all I have to do is bring back the 40% damage bonus at cranial spike ×5. I am having a stroke. They do that, then this gun's fine. Without that big damage bonus, there's like in PvE, there's no reason to run it. It's really sad. This is another great exotic that got just shafted for a Crucible, and I'm not upset at Crucible players because it's always at the end of the day it's Bungie's fault for again the weird sandbox philosophy when they can just separate it out. But that's my Dead Man's Tale rant. That and Lament, that these two changes really pissed me off because I already knew the DMT stuff. I remember a while ago they talked about what they're changing with it. I'm like, yeah, it's not enough. And this all these words, if you want to use in PvE, I guess there's a little bit of incentive now, the damage bonus, but it's not gonna be what it once was. If you remember how good it was back in Season Chosen, it's not gonna be like that. Anyways, Colony. Colony now spawns additional insectoids on final blows. Okay, and you can have up to 5. Cool. So that's whatever. Truth's actually getting buffed because Truth was, I think, by far the worst rocket in the game because it has grenade horseshoes, so all it has is blast radius and no impact damage. So they're gonna be buffing that. Increase the reserves is nice too. I want to say Truth has tripod. I want to say, so three rockets in the tube. Increase AOE damage. Okay, that's fine. Queen Breakers. So again, I need to double check because someone said that linears are getting nerfed. Maybe I'll like scroll through this again and see what's going on. But anyways, they're increasing damage. They're not moving into the energy slot. They're gonna keep it in the special. Or they're not moving into the special slot. They're gonna keep it in the heavy. Just basically a damage increase in reserves. Cerberus +1. This one's interesting. Focus fire now activates the special reload after kill or something, and no longer reduces rate of fire. I've heard rumors that it's gonna make it like a scout rifle or something. Here's hoping. But that's whatever. I mean, it only being available on a kill kind of sucks, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, Bastion's getting a change too. I always thought Bastion should have been intrinsically anti-barrier. It's intrinsically unstoppable because of the Saints. I don't know why, because the Saints fist used to let it pierce through shields, but whatever. Basically, dealing melee damage increases your charge rate and damage. I really wish when they do stuff like this, they'd give you actual numbers and reload speed. And then landing a majority of the pellets increase melee damage. So this could be like kind of like an alternative to a 1-2 punch shotgun. So it's kind of interesting. Ariana's Vow basically can cause ignition when it breaks a solar shield, or what you call it, breaks a barrier champion. I want to say Ariana takes like 2 to 3 shots on GM to break a barrier champion. I can't remember, but it doesn't one shot. It definitely takes at least 2 shots. Determinants to chaos. This doesn't matter. This does not matter. I'm sorry. Intrinsically anti-barrier, cool. Heavy metal, and the other one swaps to now before bullets. It's just no. It's not enough. It needs. You know I'm not. You know what I'm not seeing here? A damage increase. This thing has. I want to say sweet business how damages this thing. It's that bad. Oh, another quality of life change that took them forever is that now when you die with a fundamental weapon, it keeps the damage type. So if you had a messenger and you died on arc, and you had it on arc, it won't reset back to void. Same with Borealis and Hardlight. So that's pretty cool. Alacrity getting nerfed in Rumble, don't care. Archer's Gambit, my favorite bow, Hush, because everything got unsunset, which is nice. Getting a slight nerf from the reduced draw time buff, but it's gonna It's fine. When I first saw it, I was like foam. I'm like, oh god, they're nerfing everything I like, but no, it's all right. It's gonna be dropping other bows now, so it's kind of cool. Grave Robber just got a little buff, whatever. Chain Reaction, that's the one everyone's talking about. A smaller AOE and 20% less damage. And it's getting buffed on heavies, so the Hullabaloo, I guess people are gonna use more for ad clear. That's whatever. Ed Kern's gonna slight buff. Underdog is just not coming back ever. Pulse Wander is gonna replace it. Osmosis is getting a slight quality of life buff with the no longer like disappearing when you pull out a ghost or like doing other crap. And now it partially refills your weapon mag. That's cool. Chill clip, TLDR, when they nerfed chill clip to not basically freeze on 2 shots, it didn't really nerf the weapon they wanted to nerf it on, which was rapid fire fusions like Riptide, but it nerfed it on like other weapons like Lingering Dread with a grenade launcher that only has one in the tube, so shooting it twice wouldn't freeze someone. They're basically saying that they're going to adjust it on a per case basis. So Riptide's still going to cost 3 shots, but maybe something like Deliverance will only require 2. Same with like Lingering Dread, other crap like that. So that's cool. Um, High Ground's getting reworked, basically to be a better Rampage. At this point, like just retire Rampage or something, or I don't know, buff it, because I know that High Ground doesn't max out 33%, but again, you can either get like 2 kills or just get on High Ground and get like the increased damage. This being increased in PvP is going to be interesting too, because I know you could already one-shot people with like certain combinations on some of the bows with High Ground, so that's interesting. Delirium's getting buffed. It's killing Tally. It's been updated. Osmosis and Permeability. All these are just getting updated now to work with Prismatic, because that's what I'm assuming. And then Deconstruct actually got nerfed because people were actually excited for this perk on the special, I think, Tusk of the Boar or whatever, the Iron Banner Strand wayframe. Now it's just getting nerfed, so now it doesn't refill from thin air, but reserves. So that's whatever. Don't care about Crucible. That's it. That's the overall weapons tuning thing. It's not all doom and gloom. The biggest takeaway, like the biggest cool stuff, is that pulse rifles will be usable in PvE. Um, but outside of that, like Lament and the DMT stuff, what am I looking for? Linear. Because someone said, I want to say there's been a thing going around. They're saying that linear fusion rifles have been nerfed by 15% after all these changes. I will say though, another I don't know. I'd have to look into it more. But another slight nerf is to adept weapons, because if you think about it, the only really adept mod you'd run would be Adept's big one spec. I guess it frees it up, but I mean, what would you use? Adept stability, that takes away points. Adept's backup mag also takes away like stat points. I guess Adept draw time if you have it, if you play trials on like some of the bows. That's about it. But none of the other adapt mods in PvE are compelling enough to use. So I don't know. Interesting though. Anyways, we'll go over to the TWAB real quick. Let's go back. And then this week at Bungie. So that's just their weapon tuning. They've been showing off weapons for Final Shape and exotic armors. Hazardous Propulsion probably looks like the more interesting one. I don't know about the other ones. But they're talking about how you can enhance, because they did say a while back, especially when Prophecy became, when they did a Prophecy, that you'd be able to enhance all these weapons, like kind of like craftable ones. There is a slight change though, where I believe if it's not the rated depth weapons, you can't, because if you have a rated depth weapon, you can change everything except for the 2 main perks. Obviously, they can change the Masterwork, the barrel, mag, stuff like that. But I believe with the non-rated depths, you can't change those. You can enhance the perks, but you can't change the mag. But we'll read it through quick. Place your Masterwork, whatever. Don't care. Yeah, see, rated depth only. Since these weapons have base crafted version, okay. And adjust the first 2 columns. Yeah, barrels and mags. Yeah, okay. Once players okay, it's whatever. Okay, that's fine. Acquired enhanced strengths. Okay. maybe I misread it wrong. I don't know. It seemed like you wouldn't be able to change the mag, but it looks like you can change masterwork the double perk, so that's kind of cool. And then these are the weapons that is, that can be enhanceable in the future. They're gonna be dropping again some crap. Yeah, see, order the instance weapons as long as they have an origin trait. Yeah. Fortunately, blah blah blah. Okay, that's whatever. Mementos, it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. All the things that you can, they've increased the cap from 1 to 3. It should not have a cap. Period. Um, and you don't have to go to the Relic on Mars to apply mementos. Uh, mementos are just dumb. They should be shaders at this point. I mean, with Super Black coming back, what was the point of the all black memento shader from Festival Lost? You know, it's whatever. So there you go. I still think mementos are just dumb. Reducing fragment cost out of core, that's nice. Pantheon, whatever. That's whatever. 0 Hour came back. It's only been a month since Into the Light came out. I'm so happy for Time Gates. Did you know if you want to get all the intrinsics for 0 Hour, I think be like 2 or 3 weeks from now, which would be 1 week before Final Shape. So that's cool, very cool. And then this is just the useless crap, webcomic, whatever. Then yeah, known issues. Okay. So anyways, TWAB was pretty much whatever. Overall, it's fine. There's just changes coming to Destiny. I don't have a problem with some of these changes. Only DMT and Lament are the really big ones. Also, what else was it? Oh yeah, Pantheon. I don't have an issue with Pantheon. My only issue is this FOMO crap. I am still so confused why they are so hellbent on removing stuff. Because if you don't know, the Hall of Heroes or whatever the hell it's called is going away, as well as like the bounties. Onslaught will still stay, but I don't think you'll be able to like to focus weapons you can, because again, the Hall of Heroes or whatever the hell it's called is gonna be gone. Same with the armor that comes with it. Same with Super Black, which will come back later. But Pantheon's also going away. Like, I don't. If the game, like, again, I'll be nice. Let's say it's for game stability, right? Let's say because for whatever reason, if the game is in such a state where you have to constantly remove content because it's unstable, it's time to move the fuck on and get a new engine or move on to something else. Like, it's time, because if that's crazy to me, right? That's the only generous interpretation I can take, because I don't see any reason to remove this stuff. Like, for instance, the shinies are also going away in Final Shape. Why not keep them in there? Again, longevity. If you want to, like, let's say someone has all their brave weapons, right? Well, guess what can keep them going back into Onslaught? Oh, I want to chase a shiny Luna's Howl that has all my perks on it, or has like the combination perks I want, because I like the look. If you keep that in there, that's more player retention, because people are just gonna grind and hit the RNG slot machine. It's such a like an easy win. It is such an easy win, and I don't know why they keep removing content. It is so dumb. Pantheon should stay, Hall of Heroes should stay, and Shining should stay in Onslaught. That should not be controversial. It is crazy to me that they're removing more shit. But again, Final Shape's gonna be out in like, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks, so that's kind of cool. So we'll see where it goes from there. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.